You're listening to Micras Cast, the podcast about all things Micras.
Well, that's really nerdy.
Nerdy or not, here we go. This is Micras Cast with your host, Ed. Intellectual, stimulating conversation.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the second episode of Micras Cast. I am Edgar Carrillo. Thank you for listening. I want to take some time to thank everyone for their support in this project. It has been truly incredible. Thank you so much for all the feedback, all the praise, and all of the advice. I appreciate it. This is the first time I ever do a podcast, so I am learning a lot, and I just appreciate the support and the love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you listen to the podcast via Spotify, support us, subscribe, share the podcast with any people that are like-minded. And in the future, I hope that this podcast can actually serve a purpose. It can maybe attract people to come join Micras, start their own countries, join existing countries. Who knows? We could always use new people and fresh ideas. You can find the Micras map at www.micras.org. You can also find Micras' central hub, the central forum, where the Micronational Cartography Society is based at. A lot of the sports efforts that we'll be hearing later in the podcast today are based there. You can go to hub.mn/forum. And now, we also have a channel exclusively for Micrascast in the official Micras Discord server. I want to thank Craitman and Halian for making one for us. That's where I will be coordinating with guests, releasing new episodes, and basically doing things for the podcast. So you can find me there if you have any feedback, if you want to be on, just find me there. And a quick heads up, I think this is going to be the last episode that we release on SoundCloud. SoundCloud is now asking me to pay to add more episodes, and to be honest, I've already spent plenty of money getting the equipment and the knowledge that I need to put this together. Frankly, I don't want to spend more. So from now on, the podcast will be released exclusively on Spotify, where you can listen to it for free. In the future, we'll be looking to expand distribution. I want to see if I want to get it on iTunes. I want to see if I want to get it on other places, maybe even in YouTube. So we'll see. If anyone wants to help with that, since I am such a novice at this, please, 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 please give me your advice, give me your feedback. I welcome it. And so in this episode, we have a panel of great people. I had a lot of fun recording this episode. Actually, after the episode ends, we recorded for another hour, and we're joined by a bunch of other people. And I have so much fun with everyone. So in this panel, we have Craitman, we have Barnaby, we have Aleksi, we have Joe, and we have Jack. So I'm excited to bring you the second episode of this podcast. We will take a phonetic tour of Micras and discuss Micras sports. So without further ado, here is the episode. Okay, I have to warn you all to cover my legal ass that you are being recorded.
I do not consent to this. Please, I'm being held against my will. Help me, please. He's threatened to kill my family.
Shut up, Barnaby. Go back to the cellar.
It puts the lotion on the skin.
This is the best start of a podcast ever.
Yeah, I'm going to have to keep that then. Okay. Okay, and for this episode's august panel, we have the leader of Palesmania. He's also involved in Krasnokoria, and the deliverer of Ladino voters in Honduran politics, Aleksi.
Sup?
And we also have the leader of Senya. He's been around the MCS Council for so long that I think he's become part of the furniture, Barnaby.
We are Senya, Super Senya. We are Senya from the pit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have the builder of a new major Celtian power, just got a massive expansion approved for his nation, Gran Barionia. We have Jack.
Hola.
We have the leader of Mercury and lord of all Freddie Mercury microvision entries, Joe.
Hello.
And last but certainly not least, the Crate God, Administrative General of the MCS and leader of Craitland, we have Craitman.
Yo, listen up.
That was a shambles of an intro.
It was absolutely disastrous.
What a mess. It's fine.
It's good that everyone is on their own track here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get started. How do you guys pronounce the name Micras? I have always pronounced it Micras because I thought it came from the word micronations. But as Salome reminded me last podcast, there's a lot of people that think it's pronounced Micras. And then yesterday when we ran our test chat for this, I heard Aleksi call it Micras, and I just wonder who else calls it that.
Well, I do. And that is because in Dutch, it is micro. So micronatie instead of micronation. So since Micras would be derived from micronation, I say Micras.
Barnaby, how have you always pronounced Micras, or did you also call it Micras at some point?
No, I've always said Micras. I do put a lot of emphasis on the I and the A, but yeah, Micras, that's what I've always gone with.
Always emphasis on the ass for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I can appreciate that. So Joe, do you also call it Micras?
No, I say Micras, just for the same reason you said, it's Micras.
Yeah, I always made that same relation. Aleksi, I feel like as probably the only person on this chat that uses the word Micras, what do you got to say for yourself? Say something for yourself.
You guys are going to start making me pronounce it Micros. Thanks a lot.
But just for the record, can you say it the way you were saying it yesterday?
Micras. I say it like that.
Micras.
Well, because when I was in calls with all the Krasnokorean people, I feel like they pronounce it Micras too, but that could just be me.
It would make sense for being not English speakers. Like Jack said, like the Dutch would be micronatie. So yeah, if it's not an English person who's had the word thrown at them, then they would probably say Micras, yeah.
And I say me because in Spanish, mi is me. So
yeah,
that's how I kind of saw it when I first came into here.
Micras. I'm kind of obsessed with that pronunciation. Just how Salome was sharing with me before I recorded the first episode, an episode of the Antican Roundtable, which was a show that they did back in the day when Antica was around. And there's an entire episode about how to pronounce this. And they were roasting Salome on the episode because she said Micras too. And it was just really funny. I'll have to pass around that link. She sent it to me. So I'll have to pass that around when we're done here. But so what are some names of cities in your micronation that you expect people would have a hard time pronouncing? I made some notes here, and basically all the ones in Craitland, I can barely pronounce some of those. Cherry Trees is easy.
Yeah.
Palesmania has a bunch too. There's the one that I call the one that starts with a Q in Mercury. I cannot even try to pronounce that thing.
That's not supposed to be pronounced.
By design.
You summon a demon if you pronounce it correctly, so don't try it.
Oh, so is it like Beetlejuice? You say it 3 times and you summon something?
If you couldn't even manage to say it 3 times, I don't think. It takes so long to say it once.
So, like, say it for us.
Kavakakak kanit kakatak.
Eat breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always
Joe,
said
there's a demon
Kavak,
in my house now.
where-
Thanks a lot.
Well, we normally refer to it as just QQQ,
Exactly.
which is the abbreviation, which I deliberately made it have as many Qs as possible, just so I could have that abbreviation.
And Jack, I see that there's a city in Gran Barionia called, and correct me if I'm wrong, because the X in Salapa, usually in Spanish, is pronounced as if it were a J.
Yes,
Jalapa.
Yes, it's Jalapa. At least I think so, because I got it. It's a Mexican city, actually, where I got the name from. In addition,
Okay.
on the new map, there's going to be like another unpronounceable one. I have to look it up, actually, because that is one that derives from the original. Like, there used to be a micronation there, which was called Mexico, only then in a strange way. And I imported one of their old cities, and it has a disastrous name too. It is Oaxaca, I think you should pronounce it. Like, it's Oaxaca.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like, I literally have no idea how you should pronounce that.
Yeah, I have no idea how I would say that either. Your guess is as good as mine.
Generally, I'll just type it into Google Translate and do what that says. It can read it out, so it's quite handy.
Have you guys seen that meme about all of those words that sound similar in French that somebody was using Google Translate to make Google Translate say a bunch of like words that sound the same but mean different things?
Yeah, your
French?
uncle mows the fish or something, and it's like tong tong.
Yeah,
tong,
and it's
tong,
just ton 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 ton.
Yeah.
Ton 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 ton.
Yeah.
I like that you have a city in your new claim, Jack, called El Triunfo.
El Triunfo.
The triumph.
It's
It's
the triumph of finishing the
And
Northern
there's also
Conquest.
a city called like City of the
Ciudad de
Heroes.
los Héroes.
Yeah. Yeah. Ciudad de los Héroes. Las Aguas, of course. It's right by the river.
Mm-hmm. Not very original.
Listen, like sometimes it's hard to come up with like names for things. I'm not as good as coming up with names for places and stuff on the spot. Sometimes I'll just open Google Maps and I'm like, okay, what kind of flavor of culture I want for this? And I just look around.
The good thing about having Senya and having sort of an independent sort of make it yourself culture is that you can sort of just throw random sounds together and make place names when I can't be asked to steal from like real world examples. So I have some examples on the map of like some really weirdly spelt and weirdly pronounced places like Krasniak, which is one of the cities in northern Senya, right by Jingdao.
And so you have the backwards S too, which I really like.
Yeah, that's a simple sh sound. So we have Sherenam as well on the north coast.
Is that? Oh no, that says cove hither.
Cove
I thought
High.
it like. Okay, because I was like reading it as if it was saying "come hither."
No,
that would be Stormark.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
The pulsating milk log on display in Stormark.
It's just pretend you're a Norseman.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah, because they use like proper old Norse diacritics and everything, don't they, on theirs?
I have an idea for like a segment. Is we try to pronounce all the city names in Stormark.
Yeah, we need either Rick or Maliki to be on to give us their pronunciation of these things.
Yeah.
I can do
So I
Narvik. Just looking at some of their place names. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's Icelandic they use.
And some Norwegian as well. They sort of go between a lot.
And then just French for some reason as well.
Yeah, they got a little French.
Yeah,
Normandy.
well, let me tell you something about their little French area in Celtia. Back when Harold and I were buddy, and he was participating in Alexandria, I was trying to find like a lane for him to like participate, for him to find his thing to do in Alexandria. And he was helping me write the ancient history of Alexandria. And I have some like moments where like, okay, this king and this queen married, and this is what created the realm, kind of like what created Spain in the 1400s. And he goes, oh, I think this is my lane. And then he took all of his ideas and all of his writing and created this French area in Stormark. And I was like, dude, I thought you were supposed to help me. But that's how that happened.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of unpronounceable names in Craitland. Craitman, do you mind going through some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to go off the map because after our last episode, I actually went through the wiki and added proper IPA pronunciations to the article called List of Settlements in Craitland. So if you go along with that with me, then that might help understand how things are meant to be pronounced. Not that I'm going to pronounce them correctly, just so you know, this is how they should be pronounced. Because obviously doing everything online and through text tends to sully how things are meant to be pronounced because you don't say them regularly enough out loud.
But what's that article? List of
settlements in Craitland.
Yeah, there it is.
I don't know if settlement's the right word, but I thought it was all-encompassing for cities and towns and everything. So.
Oh, yeah, you did add pronunciations for everything. This is nifty.
Very nifty.
I tried my best. The best thing I had was like an IPA pronunciation website thing. You just put in the IPA letters and it sort of tries to pronounce it in a very robotic voice back to you. So it should sound roughly right, or at least what I'm saying should kind of match the symbols that are there, I'd hope.
Some of these names I have no idea how to pronounce, even though I have the notes staring at me right here. Like Hanavisen. Okay, yeah, I am killing this. I'm sorry. You guys are witnessing a murder? Hanavisen or Craitland.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah, Javale is a weird one because I've always sort of pronounced that in my head like Shivil. I don't know why, but technically with the letters that are there, it should be Javale.
I've always pronounced it Shireville, which is just completely wrong now.
Yeah, I mean, I might pretend that's how like the locals pronounce it.
Well, I recently discovered and was teased to hell by both Rick and Mike a little bit because I thought all like this entire time that the pronunciation for, and people are going to kill me for this, for Brookshire in Shireoth is Shire, not Sure, because you say Shireoth, right? Like not Shuroth.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, the way we do things in England, it's like you would say Shire, but you would say like Cambridgeshire or Oxfordshire or Cheshire or Yorkshire. You wouldn't say Shire at the end of it.
Which is weird because even for the Shireithian ones, I still say Shire because it's sort of, I don't know if I see Shireoth as being sort of Americanized, but like I would say Brookshire because it's theirs. It's not like one of our Shire counties. It's a Shireoth one, so it sort of gets its own pronunciation. I would say Brookshire.
They were not fans of me saying it that way.
It sounds very American when you do it.
All of a sudden I had... You guys have seen the Mummy movies, right? Stupid Americans. Americans.
Well, they're not stupid, they're special.
Oh, thank you, Jack.
You are also very special, Ed. You're very welcome.
I'm feeling the love.
So much love.
Oh wait, I didn't get to pronounce like my weird city name.
Oh no.
Yes, do that.
Also, save that for your soundboard as well.
Yeah.
Okay, which one do you want? Oh, I can pronounce the weird one. That is Sneshwinia Varm. That N is supposed to be pronounced Nya.
Where is that?
Oh, it's the island. Yeah.
It's right underneath where it says Myhod Gazar.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
I see it
military
now.
fort, yeah.
Sneshwinia Varm and Salkan, which if you go down to the Zhang area, it says that is Salkanen Uadar.
Salkanen,
God, I'm forgetting how to pronounce my own city names.
Salkanen Uadar.
What was the island where
Yeah.
the Iron Company had something going on?
That is where Vasilisco is.
Yeah, and that
Vasilisco.
island had a name, and it was just the worst name. I mean, beautiful, but
That's why I changed the name on
Okay.
it because
the original name I should have had that.
it's like Renadar E Kenzie or something.
Yeah, Renadar Ikenzi. Yes, that's what it was.
Because I wanted to add like a bunch of other letters to the Palesmanian language, and it never happened. Which I pronounce it Palesmania, but Palesmania is also an acceptable pronunciation.
Okay. Because I see a military base in what I guess is mainland Palesmania, north of that little Stormark island that's I'm reading as Camp BR's to 181.
Oh, that's supposed to... Hold on, because there's a way to pronounce... There's a specific way to pronounce it. It's supposed to stand for Fortified Combat Base. Its technical pronunciation is Korsa Maria Basi Atahar.
Okay.
Bless you.
Easy to remember.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Yes, it is. Just say it's supposed to mean Fortified Combat Base. That's basically what it's supposed to mean.
Okay, because like now in my head canon it stands for Camp BR's.
You could do that too. I don't care.
Oh man.
Whatever floats your boat.
I mean, I've been pronouncing it Palismenia all this time in my head, so that is
same.
like Palismenia is because there's a few like that, isn't there? Like the old Amacolia problem that we spoke about.
Yeah,
last time.
how some people pronounce Amakalia, which I found amusing.
Oh, I pronounced it differently. I pronounced it Amacalia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the original like proper pronunciation from Jess's explanation was Amokalia, which just doesn't make sense because they're O's. Like, use a different letter.
It gets rightly pointed out that political drama isn't the only way that one can develop a micronation. Sports is a huge aspect of the Micras experience for a lot of different micronations. And I have to give props. I think this is the first time that we have a august gathering of all of the heads of Micras' largest sporting organizations, right? Like, is that accurate? That's never happened before.
Yeah, pretty much.
Roughly. We're only missing Edwin, really.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
He doesn't
Edwin's
count,
grown
that's fine.
into doing a lot more stuff recently, which is good.
Yeah.
Because something that we were talking about yesterday that I found really cool is that we can, in the future, see if we can do broadcasts as an episode of this podcast of Micran sporting events. Like the next time we have, and I don't know if we'll have a next time because from what I've read and from what I gathered, the Micras games were a little traumatic for the people running them.
Yes.
My sincerest condolences in the demise of your sanity. But like maybe we can have a podcast episode for a Micran sporting event, or like the next time the Senyans light a stadium on fire, we'll have an episode. Or
So tomorrow then.
Yeah.
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 We've got 4 big football competitions this summer because every other year we either have a World Cup or we have regional finals, and we're on a regional finals year this year. So we've got the Copper Apollonia, Cibotap, the Emus, and the Venetia Cup all this summer. So I'm sure we can focus on one of them if we want.
Yeah, and it's going to be quite exciting as well because we're expanding the Copper Apollonia from 8 teams to 12 teams this year, mainly just because there's quite a lot of interest in Apollonia at the minute from the football side of things. So we thought it would make sense to include a wider amount of teams, a larger amount of teams, to make that competition much more competitive and to give more teams a chance to play in a big tournament. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that one unfolds, because it's a bit experimental compared to the format of the others.
Okay, because I would love to produce and help make podcast episodes for whenever you guys feel like something deserves a fun broadcast. Like I am in to make an episode of it. I just hope that you guys don't mind that I ask a lot of annoying questions, because I don't really follow sports that closely. I'm not sure that I understand them that much. I just like going to the games. They're fun. I just like going to the games.
Yeah, we could talk about how we sim and how we sort of use, that kind of how we generate results and that kind of thing, if that makes.
Yes, that would be awesome, because
I think a lot of people don't really understand the effort that goes into doing it.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, for me as like not a sports enthusiast as well, or like minorly, I do follow it all the time to see how my countries are doing. For instance, you were talking about the Copa Polonia, and I see that Los Liberados is very close to getting into like the actual tournament, but it's very exciting to see if we will be able to get a place instead of Constancia. So that's what I look at, but I have no idea how you guys do it.
Yeah, it should me or Craitman take the explanation on this.
We'll start with Craitman.
Yeah, we all sort of use different things for generating results, because there's quite a few ways of doing it. My personal preference, it's probably because I'm a bit old school, is that I've got actual computer games, like either on a PC or the PlayStation, and I physically edit the teams on those in like the modifying sectors of the game, to change the names and the players and the kits and everything, and then I let the game play against itself, and that's how I get my results. I don't know if you've seen much of the broadcasts we've done. We did one for the last 2 World Cups. Those sort of actually physically show the games of the computer playing a match against itself to generate the results.
So you guys stream the matches live for people to watch, or is that something that
they're not
you'll
live
record on your computer and then you'll upload later?
Yeah, it's an upload later deal, but the streaming side of it is a little bit out of bounds for how we work it, because we have to edit the videos and cut them down. So live streaming is pretty difficult.
Are you saying that you have, like, in this game, you have made a team for every country?
Yeah, for the qualifying articles, those are very basic teams. I use a really old version of a game and pretty much just change the name of the team and the relative skill of the entire team, and then let them play against each other. But for the broadcasts, and where there's a little bit more riding on it in terms of the results, then that's when I'll edit everything, like the kits and the player names and each player's individual skills, just to make things a little bit fairer and more realistic, if that's the right word.
I was gonna ask about how you guys, so like this can get pretty detailed then, because I always wondered where you guys generate and keep track of the individual records of the individual players, like the most valuable player, how many goals this other player scored, or whatever. Like, I've seen it be kept track on the wiki, but I guess I didn't know that like it was this intricate effort using a game. Something that I've used in the past is this website called leaguesimulator.eu. Do you guys know of it?
No.
It doesn't ring a bell, but I know there were a lot of sort of text-based results generators. I think it was like NSFS was one. Scorinator is a pretty popular one because it does quite a few different sports. Is it Scorinator or Scorinate, something like that? I don't really use that one myself.
Something like that.
But yeah, I know quite a lot of people have used that over time, just to generate sort of base numbers rather than going into the into-depth detail of actual players and information and goals and all that sort of stuff. There's quite a few ways of just blasting out results.
In terms of keeping track of players, when it comes to the international side, obviously when we run a tournament, we usually we require the teams that are participating to name a squad, and then we'll use those players. And obviously, if we're uploading a video of the game, then you can see who scored and whatnot. But if it's a qualifying match, usually we say. So it might be a game where Algeria wins 3-0, and we can say, well, we haven't named any scorers, but if Algeria wanted to do that themselves, then they can. It means that if you don't really want to put effort into that, you don't have to. But for those of us who like a bit more detail, we can keep track of those records ourselves. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
So, like,
just put a link in the
for
Discord to
people-
a few videos from last summer's World Cup, just to show you like the editing of the
Okay.
kits and the players. And if you find a video where you've got Mercury playing, their captain is obviously Joe Foxon, so he'll look quite similar to Joe. I try to make him look similar.
That's awesome.
He's a beautiful player.
So, like, for micronations in Micras that don't have any interaction with the sports organizations and want to, for the people that like have been doing this for a while and they're really like gung-ho and really happy to do it, what advice do you give to people that want to be clued in or want to be part of the greater Micras sporting effort? Because whenever I try to get involved, I always feel like it's a little bit of a steep curve to learn things, just because sadly I don't follow sports, and I really follow Micran sports only when one of my projects is doing well. I get really excited, and then once my team loses, I don't pay attention until the next time. And like, I'd like to change that at some point. I want to be involved.
Well, it's difficult because obviously there's going to be nations like Algeria where it's kind of if they're doing well, if they're getting into a tournament, then it's quite exciting to see how they're doing. And then you get nations like Senya where our whole cultural background is pretty much based on football, and particularly the ultras culture. So it can be a bit daunting when you see some of the examples with like Senya and Craitman and Mercury. But my advice would just be, to start things small, don't go over ambitious with it, and all you really need to do is start name some teams in a league if you're doing football, and you're halfway through the battle already. You've got something named, you've got something to show for, and really like just the interaction with the other members of the sort of footballing Micras community, I think will sort of help you build a bit of a base and a bit of an understanding of what to do. You don't need like old sports video games to sim results. I mean, worst comes to worst, you can sort of just generate the results off the top of your head. So it doesn't have to be something that takes up a lot of time or is consuming to get involved in. So there's ways of getting involved which aren't long and complicated or drawn out, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about Micras which is already predetermined by like conversations people have within nations and with diplomacy. You sort of know what's going to happen. You just have to fill in the blanks when you write the wiki article or the forum post or whatever, which you can kind of work with football as well. You don't have to generate results. If you want a team to win the league, then just make them win the league. Like you don't have to rely on something to tell you what the score was. Just do the score. Like if that's how you want to run it, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be a chance thing. You can predetermine it as much as you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, because like I always thought you guys were either simming out a game on on
like playing against each other.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, there it is. Because like I just thought that you guys had some like, kind of how like people who derive most of their fun from simulating the elections, i.e., people like me. I have a spreadsheet, one of the spreadsheets that like Hallian made and was giving out for people to use for elections. I just thought that maybe you guys had a program or a similar spreadsheet to like come up with things. But I guess that really simplifies things for people, because I was here thinking that you guys had some like, structure built, some like tool that you guys use to standardize things. But
well, for international tournaments, obviously there's a bit more riding on it, and we want to be a bit more fair. So I use something called Football Manager, and on the editor on that, you can change the relative strengths of teams. So for nations like Senya, Mercury, Craitman that participate in football quite a lot and are really heavily involved in it, you're going to make them the stronger teams. And then, as you go down, people who are making a little bit of an effort, they sort of come next. And then those people who sort of have something left, have a structure in their football, like say a Shire off or an Elwyn, but aren't really that involved, they're going to be sort of next on the list. So you keep it based on how much you put in, roughly. But when it comes to domestic football, I mean, I try and sim the Senior League with Football Manager, but that can sort of be a bit difficult because you're doing it over such a long period of time. So sometimes I do resort to just sort of coming up with the results myself, but that's something that I'll only do when it's a Senior tournament or a La Mancha tournament.
I've done the same for domestic creator stuff. It's hard to sit down and pretty much watch games or have to load up a game and go through all the stats and stuff just to get something just to post in 5 minutes. So it's an easy way just to say, well, I know this team's better than that one. Okay, they win 3-0. It's not going to affect anything in the long run, and it's not going to be out of the bounds of realism that result would have happened anyway. So
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go around. I want you guys to give me an update each on what's going on in your nation, and it could be either sport-wise, it could be political, it could be, I mean, Joe probably has a lot to tell us given that the place with a Q has a bunch of earthquakes recently.
Yeah, so there've been 3 or 4 earthquakes down there at the moment. Luckily, nothing too major. There's been a bit of damage, bit of sort of casualties. It seems to have slowed down. It seems to have stopped.
I haven't read the article today to see if there were any updates, but like how much damage was there from the earthquakes?
There's around 750 residential properties, so houses, flats, that have been either damaged or destroyed. There are 28 people have died in the earthquakes, mostly from the first one, which was the biggest. There are a few that were injured first and then died later.
And what does Mercury have planned for the relief effort? I see that Palismania has stepped up. I see that the Florian Republic has stepped up. Like, what is the recovery process going to look like for Mercury on this?
It'll be similar to what we do when anything like this happens. We will commit resources to putting things right. We rebuild the houses that are destroyed. We'll make sure that the people that are affected have somewhere to go.
Okay.
We don't put a fixed price on it. We'll do what it takes. Okay.
That's better than how this administration here in the United States responded to Puerto Rico. So good for you. Good for you. Aleksi, tell us what's going on in Palismania these days.
Well, there was a election that happened about a month or so ago. There's controversies around it because the Liberal Party won, it was very out of the blue because the monarchists thought they were going to win again, and then they got the Liberals got a 40 or 50 seat lead in them, above them. So there's controversy around that about voting fraud and their shady practices and stuff like that.
Ooh, like what? That sounds dramatic. So were people stuffing ballots in their pockets and walking away? What was going on?
It's because nothing's been confirmed yet, but the monarchists are trying to find a way to frame the liberals out of the government because they want control of the government again.
Hashtag not my prime minister.
Hashtag not my prime minister. But it's a lot of the older people who voted for the monarchists because the new generations are voting more liberally now.
Mm-hmm.
They're voting for the liberal
Hashtag
party.
okay boomer.
Okay boomer, yeah. So the boomers and older people are mad because the goddamn kids are voting for these liberal people who don't know how to run a country. With tradition.
I can see the boomer memes on Palismanian social media.
Yes. Yes, I can see it. And you know how there's Trump bots sometimes on Twitter? There's monarchist bots on Palismanian Twitter. It's funny.
So Barnaby, tell us what's going on in Senya.
Well, the most recent development has been the launch of the Senion space station. We've been working on the Senion space program. Basically, I realized that we had a launch pad and a mission control base in Space City in La Mancha that I hadn't touched for a while. And so I thought we may as well develop that and actually launch some rockets. So we've had a few rocket launches already. We had the 5 Sanya rockets, the last 2 of which were manned missions that just sort of explored how the Senion technology in space is working, and if it was going to be able to if it's going to be feasible for us to do manned missions into orbit. Those were successful. Then we moved on to 3 launches of the Enigma project, which is to construct the space station, and the first long-term crew has just gone up. James Duckley, who will be the commander of the space station, with Mark Cresswell, Alex Viansk, and Melissa Asgrain, have all gone up. So they will be the first crew on board the Senion space station, which is a joint project between Senya and a couple of other countries.
Okay. So what are the other countries that are involved in this space program effort? I know that we talked briefly on Discord a couple of days ago about some Aldurian involvement. Like who else is involved in this effort?
At the minute, Elwyn, Krasnokoria, Mercury, and Sanoma, are the partners. They will be doing a variety of actions. So, for example, Sanoma have offered to build materials and throw a few things up. Elwyn are offering expertise as a Krasnokoria. So the idea is that it will be a shared station for research, and the different nations can participate in that in different ways. So it's going to be exciting to see what people can bring to it. We're actually going to have an astronaut from Elwyn go up on expedition 2. So that will be the start of the international cooperation in space, as it were.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. I haven't seen a space program be simulated in Micras for a while, and I can't remember who was the last person to. I mean, I know that Natopia has a base on the moon. I know that Bijaro found some weird crap things on the moon, apparently. I was reading through the articles a couple of days ago, and I totally have forgotten about the crabs. Our moon is full of crabs, guys.
Maybe we'll see. I know the USSO also did some stuff. That's why we got Krasnokoria involved, because they have some expertise in that. So,
yeah, that's right.
They have their orbital command. So we nabbed Krasnokoria as a partner and said, "Yeah, can you help us?"
Okay. And Craitman, I know that you gave us an update last episode, which was recorded almost a week ago now, if not a little bit more. What's new in Craitland? What's going on?
There's not really anything brand new right at the moment. I'm just working through trying to get stuff out of my head and onto the wiki. Like I did with the pronunciations of places. That's something that's people have always pointed out. So I thought, yeah, I'll do that, and that'll tick a box. So yeah, there's a lot I need to sort of put into words, whether it's about cities or regions or just other aspects of our culture. It's trying to get that so it's visible to other people rather than just being in my head.
Yeah, and that's always an ongoing process for everybody.
Never ending.
Because like my headcanon is one thing, and then what's actually in the wiki about any of my projects is an entirely different thing. And sometimes I get frustrated at that because I'm like, wait, no. But there's always room for a good retcon or whatever.
I think we're in too deep for a complete retcon now. It's been like 18 years.
Well, well, yeah. Okay, so Jack.
Well, in a sense, what's new with Gran Virionia? Everything is new with Gran Virionia because we are a relatively young nation. It was founded 2 AN years ago, roughly, in 1682. And of course, the countries that make up Gran Virionia existed way longer because it's a union of Los Liberados, Casterburg, and the Virionian Empire in Celtia. And Since the Union of 1682, a lot has actually happened in Gran Virionia. We have had elections, we have established the Congreso, bicameral parliament. There have been some internal political skirmishes and little fights. The supreme director, head of state of the country, had to resign after a disastrous referendum in which he actually wanted to increase his support and get a mandate from the people, but due to political infighting, he lost the referendum. Because he lost the support of the largest political party in the country, the Partido Unionista, and after that he was basically forced to resign. And so he did, so we have a new supreme director, Geraldo Torres. What's also new is that there has been a large territorial increase, which is known as the Northern Expansion. You can maybe see, if you look at the claims map, you can see that we have reached our desired northern border. So from here on, there won't be any expansions in the future, because we have reached the Rio del Norte, so the northern river. And that is, that's basically what's going on. And there's a lot in the pipelines as well. Of course, the new states need to have by-elections in order to determine their candidates for the members of Congreso. And we're also looking forward to engaging other nations. We are currently, the government of Gran Virionia is on the tour of Venecia. We will meet the head of state of Francia, of Batavia, and Sanama. And after that, who knows what will happen?
Okay, so I got updates from everybody. I'm going to see
what's happening in Algeria, Ed. You haven't said what's happening in yours.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so Algeria. We just had a very uneventful presidential election after we had our parliamentary election. So the Algerian parliament dissolved early. The coalition government fell apart. And the Democratic Socialists were able to win their first victory. And they are governing right now as a minority government, which I thought would not last very long. It's still in office. The other parties actually seem to be cooperating a little, but we'll see how that lasts. So we had the presidential election recently. The incumbent president won by default because no one wanted to run anybody. And that's what's going on in Algeria. I'm a little bit dry when it comes to creativity for new storylines in Algeria. So I'll do what I usually do when I'm dry on ideas for one. I work on the others, and then I'll come back to the one that I didn't have ideas for.
Yeah, that's a good approach, because obviously you've got the Wechu and the Rantanar. So you can, at least they're sort of different culturally enough that if you sort of run dry on one, you should be able to find something else to focus on. That's completely different to. Yeah,
and the Wechus need some love, because I don't think I did anything for them in April. Wechu.
It was great to speak to you guys and learn more about the football of Micras. I hope to see you soon.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll have you on in whatever episodes you want to jump in on. Same thing goes for everybody. Whenever I'm recording, you're welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for doing this. It's a great idea. Should get the Fnord award.
He'll get every four.
Ooh, another Fnord on my proverbial shelf. Was the second episode of Micrascast. Thank you guys who joined us. Barnaby, Craitman, Joe, Jack, Aleksi. Thank you so much. And that was our second episode. Please stay tuned for the next one. I'm hoping to address issues in the next one like writer's block, creativity, where people get their ideas from, how they developed them. We're going to talk a little bit about the creative process behind some of Micras' great nations. So please join us next time. If you want to come on, get a hold of me privately or on the Microscast channel. I'd love to have you on. I am shooting to have the next recording session the weekend of May. Hold on, let me pull up the calendar. Of May 16. So Saturday, May 16. If you want to join us, let me know. And that was the second episode of Microscast. Thank you for listening and take care.